Troupe. Welcome back to Sports Buzz. I am Zach Barnett. And before we get started, how you been, man?
I cannot complain, man. Got married. It's almost going to be a year already. Enjoying the new wifey, enjoying, just settled into to the life I have now. The media world, podcasting world, not the nonprofit world, and just enjoying just being a dad, being a husband, being a semi-regular guy. Mowing grass and raking leaves. So just doing the everyday thing.
I hear you, man. We have something in common. I just got married too.
Congrats, man! I saw the ring, man. Mine is my kids touch everything. They're somewhere in here, and it's black like yours. So yeah, man, congratulations,
Appreciate
congratulations.
it. Likewise, man. So, my audience knows you from playing in Florida. Well, my first question is that's an outstanding college. But when you were there and looking back at it, uh, what was a part of that college that was not so good? The worst part
Oh,
about it.
the part that's not so good is the culture. It's the culture of college
Mm,
because being a country boy from Swainsboro, Georgia, and living in Augusta, Georgia, I didn't have a lot of exposure to different ethnicities, to different nationalities, to different religions, and you're thrust into a place to where you're gonna get all that. Like one of my best friends, Carlos Perez, is a Dominican. He's like, man, I'm Dominican. My ignorance, I didn't know what that was. It's the not understanding other cultures and understanding how engulfing your own culture is to where you've never stepped outside of that bubble. So I would just say just not being able to understand, because if I can understand something, I can appreciate it. Well, if I don't understand it, it's going to be a level of depreciation going on because in my mind, I'm like, well, what is that? But college itself, man, just being overwhelmed with what college is, because I say this, being an athlete, when everybody else day ends, that's when mine begins. So when you going home for the day, I got practice, I
workouts.
got lifting. Yeah, and I had to develop a love for football to survive because I enjoyed football, but I didn't love it the way I had to. So just embracing the grind of academia as well as athletics and understanding that the learning curve for me in college is understanding I'm the biggest ambassador. The football coach, the football players are the biggest ambassadors at a school, unless it's like a Duke or North Carolina or Kansas or UCLA, because they got basketball as well. But man, just what I lacked. So maybe it wasn't college itself. College exposed what I lacked, and
Gotcha.
so I would say I wouldn't say it's Florida itself, but yeah, it brought out some things to me that I had to definitely take a strong look in the mirror in. But I was better as a senior, as a athletically, but I was better as a senior than a freshman as a person, like holistically, because I was like, dude, I've come a long way to understand the difference between a Haitian and a Jamaican and a Dominican, a Puerto Rican and a Mexican. Because I'm like, how disrespectful it is to call somebody who's not Mexican Mexican.
Yeah, it's pretty.
That's all I knew. But I'm from, oh,
It's
you Mexican.
sly.
So they say, oh, I'm Latino. Oh, didn't know. It's little stuff like that.
True.
And here I am catching touchdowns on Saturday, and I'm about as behind the times as it gets. So I had to step outside of this country boy persona, which I'm always going to be a country boy, and say, hey man, this is where you were is not where you at. Where I stood is not where I was standing. So I had to, but I think I got. I'm a lot better now, but back then, oh man, it was rough. It was rough.
Gotcha. I think Bill Belichick's gonna change that culture at UNC. It might turn into a football school.
Listen. At one point, I don't think it's ever going to be as big as the basketball team because so much
Hmm.
tradition. But Bill Belichick didn't go there to be. He didn't go there to not win, and he didn't go there to be average. He didn't do either. So either
True.
those players and coaches are going to get with his program, or he's going to get new players and new coaches that's going to
That's
buy in.
true.
We'll see.
Definitely, man. So, so Florida, they are pretty prominent with great players, whether it's Tim Tebow, Chris Leak, a player that you played with, Cam Newton was there, uh, Percy Harvin,
Yes,
several players, Spikes. I can keep on naming them,
yes,
man, off the
yes.
dome too. So, with you personally, what's the Mount Rushmore for you? Top five
Ooh,
players.
Top five player. Wow. Top five players in Florida.
That's
Here's the
zinger,
thing.
man. That's a
Okay.
zinger.
So even though he's a coach, top five player Steve Spurrier, because Steve Spurrier won the Heisman at Florida.
Gotcha.
Definitely Tim Tebow. Danny Warfel. Shane Matthews, because Shane Matthews started all with the quarterback. So that's four quarterbacks. Man, that fifth one.
No defensive player? Come
I'm
on,
about to say,
man.
hold on, that fifth. Yeah. Uh, if I had to do, because these are people who know for, I would go Spurrier, Tebow, Matthews, Warfel. Probably no defensive player, maybe Emmitt Smith. Because I think the defensive players canceled themselves out because it was so
Hmm.
many good ones. But I mean, Tebow, Warfel, and Spurrier all won the Heisman. See, Spurrier coached Danny Warfel for the Heisman. Shane Matthews started. So when Coach Spurrier got to Florida, Shane Matthews was his first quarterback. So you're talking about two-time SEC Player of the Year, first team All SEC 2 years. And who don't know Emmitt Smith? I mean, the all-time leading rusher in the NFL. So Emmitt, Tebow, Warfel, Matthews, Spurrier, and I would go with those five.
Crazy list. I see where your allegiance lies, though.
Hey man, at the end of the day, Coach Spurrier did recruit me. I did go to his last 2 years, my first two
Yeah.
years. Tim Tebow, unless you live under a rock, you don't know who that is. Danny Warfel was doing so. Danny Warfel and Shane Matthews, what all colleges are doing now with the spread, they did it in the 90s. So think about it. In the 2020s, what everybody's doing in high school and pro and college, they did it. So they did it when nobody was doing it. Now everybody's doing it. So so maybe Coach Spurrier is really the Jedi or something, man. He's he the Dalai Lama. He's seeing the future. So who knows?
I hear you. So I'm sure you're pretty familiar with the NIL lawsuit with Jaden Rasada. How do you
Yeah,
think that's going to affect the Gators long term?
I don't think it's going to affect them at all, and this is why. The Gators used to be the Gators Collective. So so they first started doing NIL, they was the Gators Collective. Well, since then they're now called Florida Victorians. Why is that important? Because the lawsuit was when they was Gators Collective. So that means that's in the rear view. They said we want to make sure that the current crop of players is not affected by a previous regime, and I'm talking about the collective. So yeah, man, I don't think it's gonna. Rashada has been on two teams since then. Well, I think he's getting ready for a third. He went to Arizona State, went to Georgia. Now I think he's back in the portal. Rashada got to understand this one thing: the University of Florida is the biggest brand in the state of Florida. It is bigger than Florida State. It's bigger than Miami. It's bigger than the Jags. Bigger than the Bucks. Bigger than the Hurricanes. When you coming at the biggest entity in the state, you better have two things: money and lawyers. That's what Florida got. They got
True.
plenty of money. They got the best lawyers. And we'll see. People gonna jump on it, but hey, man, sometimes you'll just run out of money. Sometimes they just keep on continuous. So I just know that then the University of Florida, if it's gonna go down, it's not gonna be because of a player. It's gonna have to be somebody bigger than that. And Jaden Rashada never set foot out there in Florida field. So we'll see. We'll see. But I'm wishing best for both sides because I can see it from the player side as well. But hey, man, listen, man. If you're gonna come up against a giant, you better be a giant yourself.
True. That's
Your
a
best
that's a
your best
lot
bet.
of money. 13 million? I think that's the lawsuit.
Yeah, that is. That is. I mean, let me tell you something. If that's what they promise him, I mean, he gonna have to get something. It might not be 13, but hey, man, listen. If young Zach is in Florida, man, they say, hey, man, y'all told me 13, man. I can count. I can count to 13. I'm gonna need something. So either it's gonna have to be 13 or be something that I can walk away from the table with. We'll see. We'll
I
see.
don't think he'll get anything from that.
Hey man, listen,
I
if he
don't.
get anything, that means he got some big time lawyers. But guess what? Big time lawyers come with big time lawyer fees. So
True.
we'll see. So
Half of that stuff's
we'll
gone.
see. We'll see.